Hello, my fabulous fifth graders. Today's lesson is on multiplying whole numbers and fractions. Our I can statement today is I can find the fraction of a whole number. Let's begin by asking ourselves, what are some ways to multiply fractions and whole numbers? Well, in our last lesson, we used models. Let's think about some other ways that we could multiply fractions and whole numbers. Here, they ask us to use mental math. That means see if we can solve this in our head. 40 times 3/8. I remember in our last lesson when we had 2 times 3/4, that was the same thing as 2 times 3 divided by 4. So I can use mental math to apply this same algorithm to 40 times 3/8. So I know I'll have to start with 40 times 3. This is just like the basic fact, 4 times 3, but it's a multiple of 10, so we annex that 0. Now, I know that my next step is to divide by 8. I could solve this like a division problem, but they asked me to use mental math. So I'm going to use the distributive property to help me out. I know that 8 times 10 is 80. That's an easy one. 120 is bigger than 80, so I know my quotient is going to have to be bigger than 10. Well, what's the difference between 80 and 120? The difference is 40. 80 plus 40 is 120. So let me think backwards from there. Well, I know that's 8 times 5. If I collect both of these, my quotient is 15. 40 times 3/8, or 3/8 of 40, is 15. Let's see if we can simplify that a little bit. We're going to follow the steps to find 4/5 times 7. And I know that's going to be the same thing as 4 times 7 divided by 5. Well, one way I can simplify that is to write 7 as a fraction. 7 is a whole number, but it can also be represented as 7 over 1. So now I can just multiply the numerators. 4 times 7 is 28. Then I multiply the denominators. 5 times 1 is 5. So I have 4 times 7 divided by 5 in a simpler form. But this is an improper fraction. So now I need to simplify that. 28 divided by 5. Well, I know 5 can go into 28 5 times. That would give me 25, and I would have 3 left over. So I would have 5 wholes and 3/5. 3/5. Let's see if we can apply what we just learned to a word problem. The weights of items in a hardware store are shown. How many pounds do 8 screwdrivers weigh? Show the steps you used to solve. Well, here are my screwdrivers. They weigh 4/9 of a pound. So that means I would have to find 8 times 4/9, which would be the same thing as 8 times 4 divided by 9. I can make my life a little easier, save myself a step by writing 8 as an improper fraction. Multiply it by 4/9, and then I can simply multiply my numerators and multiply my denominators. 8 times 4 is 32. 1 times 9 is 9. Now I have this in one easy step, but I still need to simplify my answer. So I'll take 32, I'll divide it by 9. I know that 9 can go into 32 3 times. That gives me 27 with 5 left over. So 3 and 5/9. The weight of 8 hammers is 3 and 5/9 of a pound. Let's try another example. Here, we're asked to find the unknown in 2 times 4/5. That'll be about 2 times 1. So I know my answer should be about 2. Let's multiply and see what we get. To save ourselves a step, we're going to write 2 as a fraction, 2 over 1. Then we multiply our numerators. 2 times 4 is 8. And multiply our denominators. 1 times 5 is 5. Our answer is 8/5. But as you know, that's an improper fraction. Let's turn that into a mixed number. 8 divided by 5. And I get 1 whole and 3/5. And that is close to my estimate of 2. So I know my answer is reasonable. Let's try using this method with a word problem. Arletta is making nacho cheese dip for a party. She needs to make 5 batches. How much salsa will she need? Well, I can tell right here she needs 1/2 cup of salsa for 1 batch, but she is going to make 5 batches. So I need to find 5 times 1/2. I'm going to save myself a step by writing 5 as a fraction. Then I can simply multiply my numerators. 5 times 1 is 5. Multiply my denominators. 1 times 2 is 2. And I have 5/2. This, of course, is an improper fraction. So I'll need to turn it into a mixed number. 2 can go into 5 2 times. Subtract a 4, and I get 2 whole cups with 1/2 cup left over. So my answer is 2.5. One more word problem. Quentin is making bread and wants to triple the recipe. The recipe calls for 2/3 cup of sugar. How much sugar will he need? Well, 2/3 times what? Oh, I have to go back and carefully read my problem because he wants to triple the recipe. Triple is the same thing as times 3. So I'm going to multiply 2/3 times 3. Save myself a step. Write 3 as a fraction. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. And I have 6/3 as my answer. Well, as you know, that's an improper fraction. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. He will need 2 cups of sugar. That brings us to the end of today's lesson. Today we multiplied whole numbers and fractions. Our I can statement is I can find the fraction of a whole number. Go ahead and press pause now if you need more time to write this on your whisk. This is our summarizing question. Explain in complete sentences how you could find the product of 50 and 2/5 using mental math. Finally, this is the Q section of our whisk. Here is a word problem. Joaquin had $24, and he used 5/8 of his money to buy a pair of jeans. How much money did Joaquin spend on jeans? I look forward to seeing what you come up with in class tomorrow.